In my book on the plunder of the commons, I start by recalling Margaret Thatcher's infamous remark about there is no such thing as society. And in a sense, the neoliberal project from the beginning of the 1980s has been about dismantling institutions of social solidarity because they stand against the market. And the idea of the commons is that these are in between state property and private property. They belong to all of us and they belong to nobody, okay? And the terrible thing of the economics behind the neoliberal project, which Thatcher and others supported, is that something that has no price has no value, which is a terrible doctrine. And so there has been a strategy of commodifying everything that belongs to the commons and privatizing. And as I trace in the book, one of the extraordinary things is you've had a privatization of our natural commons, our land, our sea, our air, our mineral resources. You've had a privatization of our social commons, our social housing, the public spaces that have been converted into POPs, privately owned public spaces, which now have their own policing, their own regulations. Systematically, you see the closure of public libraries, the reduction of museums in our cities and towns, all of these things. The loss of police stations. We have cities now without police stations, like Bath. It's crazy. If you denude all of that, two things have happened. One, it's led to an extraordinary colonization of what were our commons. They are now owned by private equity. All our water companies in England are owned by foreign private capital, piling up debt, pouring sewage into our rivers so that none of our rivers today are safe for swimming and drinking. We have a situation where we've had a corrosion of the fabric. And of course, if you're in a big city, you see these things, and these things lead to a withering of the civic culture. And we can do better than that. And what I'm advocating is that we should have a shift, a relative shift, from taxing earned incomes to taxing wealth and ecological invasions of our commons, and thereby build up a commons fund from which we could pay a basic income. So that the two ideas of a reviving of the commons, including urban and rural commons, goes with a need for a new income distribution system, and in thereby helping the construction of a greener city life. Carbon taxes, for example, are desperately needed, and the toxic air is hitting our poorest residents of our poorest cities and towns. We need carbon taxes, but we will only enable us to have a proper carbon tax system if we are known to be recycling the revenue so that everybody gains. But that will help the political acceptance of that route forward. And we need that route forward. That's why I say the threat of extinction is going to be the tipping point in favor of a basic income and a greener, ecologically sustainable society in all our towns and cities.